Welcome, everyone. Welcome, my Estebanites, and thank you for joining us. Cut it off. Snip, snip. Cut it off. That's one of the topics we were talking about today at the Caliente countertop. A 10-year-old girl who was sadly victimized by being sexually assaulted and impregnated. Her parents, they made a decision to allow their daughter to have an abortion. But because of the new ruling against Roe versus Wade from the Supreme Court, they were forced to go to another state to have that abortion take place. There was a doctor who graciously performed that abortion, abiding by the wishes of the parents or guardian of that 10-year-old child. The results? That child was freed from that traumatizing circumstances. And the doctor, well, she was sued or investigated by that state attorney general. Now, this is all stemmed from the new regulations handed down by the Supreme Court. Handed down by the Supreme Court of what we know of Roe versus Wade. And then so called handling it back to the state. In the meantime, the states took it upon themselves to I mean, enforce this almost immediately and put into place even more restrictions against abortion. Something like 85% of the American people didn't want that. They don't want that. And they won't want those restrictions to abortion rights tomorrow. But it is so. We now have stories such as this 10-year-old girl. At the Caliente countertop, it was said, and I quote, if we can't have the right to have an abortion after rape, then we have to start talking about cutting off penises. Cut it off. Snip, snip. Of course, that makes me cringe. But if a man uses his penis as a weapon, taking the innocence away from a woman or a man, I mean, it happens to men too, or a child, as in this case, this is what we're talking about today. Cut it off. Let your manhood, or I should say, let's take your manhood, your innocence. On our panel is Miss Soray and also Miss Lady D. Check it out. So we have here a situation that was recently in the news of a 10-year-old girl who was recently a rape victim in the state of Ohio. They took her over to Indiana to have an abortion. And because of that, the Attorney General is now investigating the doctor who provided that abortion to her. It says here that it was unclear as to the nature of what the investigation included with the authorities, but it was clear that this doctor gave an abortion to this 10-year-old child. Um, this 10-year-old was about 6 weeks of gestation. Um, so That's pretty much it of what it says. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. I mean, first of all, it falls a little bit under the title of the abortion thing. Second of all, it's a 10-year old a child. Third of all, it's a new situation of an attorney general bringing up charges against a doctor. Something else that you can call unprecedented. What are your thoughts on that?
You wanna go? Roe v. Wade? Roe v. Wade, since it's overturned, it's become unclear. It's just like these 10 states that have these abortion bans as to what they can do and what they can't do. And I think Biden wanted to in the future put in something in writing on paper to say that if these women did have to go and travel across other states to get an abortion, that no guilt would fall on the doctor. But obviously that hasn't gone into play yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't feel that the doctor should be in this situation at all. 10 years old, that's a baby having a baby. She was a rape victim. She's supposed to carry this baby to a full term. She's not even
Psychologically,
physically, psychologically, emotionally. How is she supposed to carry this baby full term? And once the baby is born, look at that baby. So she sees the rapist for the rest of her life.
that's right.
I don't.
At such a young state of mind.
She's not even developed yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I disagree.
What do you think, Lady
disagree.
D?
You know, here's the first question I want to know is when you say they took her to India, who took her? And I'm gonna ask you why that's important.
Yeah.
The reason why I say who took her is because if she's not emancipated, so we know that she's not on her own,
Right.
so that means an adult went with her.
Right.
So the question now becomes, who was the adult?
Right.
Because if the adult was her guardian, I'm going to use the word guardian,
Right.
not mother, not father, because it could be your grandmother, it could be your aunt. If the guardian took her and signed whatever documents and forms that they needed to sign, then the doctor's not at fault.
Right.
Period. And now, do I agree or disagree with abortion? I'm not here to tell someone what to do with their body. But I do think a 10-year-old should not be having a child. Okay?
Rape or not.
Rape or not.
Okay.
Rape or not.
Okay.
You have lost your innocence.
Mm-hmm.
You have lost your child.
Wait, you said that you don't believe that a 10-year-old should be having an abortion?
No, should be having a child.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Should be having a child. I don't go, abortion is a very thin line.
And there's risk.
And there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of
This
risk.
10-year-old may not be able to have children.
Moving forward the rest of her life.
Moving forward.
You don't know what this done to her uterus,
So-
her fallopian tube. You don't know what this has done.
That's another thing.
Well, I'm a man, but if you ask my opinion, you gotta you make a choice. It's either she's gonna have a 10-year-old, she's gonna have a child that's gonna be 10 years younger, or not be able to have a child.
Hold on. Goes back to my question: who took her? Because being at that age, since she is not emancipated, that means she couldn't sign those papers on her own.
So-
Someone took her, and whoever.
Okay,
took
that
her,
had to be her parents because they didn't say it was illegal.
So now, if the parents took her, who is the DA to go after the doctor? The doctor was providing a service at the authorization,
A legal
the
service.
legal service of the parents.
But he was there. But now under this new law from the Supreme Court, that is what empowered or enabled him to do that.
And there's no laws in place to prevent them.
So there may not
Correct.
be laws or in place in that state
right now.
right now,
Right now.
in that state
Right now.
right now. But again, it goes back to, we had a conversation a little bit offline about this, is, at the end of the day, what happens to the person who raped the young lady?
Right.
Because here's the thing. If you put this law into place and she has to have this child, and this, I don't know about anybody else,
But he was arrested. They found him and he was arrested.
okay, arrested and financial support is two different things. If this child was to have this child, is he or his family going to support that child?
Right, which is goes under the whim of why perhaps an abortion
Which is-
might
which is-
be
Again, abortion is that gray line, but you got to think about everything else that falls in. If you
Prenatal care.
aftercare,
Mhm.
mental
Mental
health.
health.
Do you want to make sure that she's not one of those women that go into I can't remember the word right now, but that's it.
Psychological shock.
Depression.
Just postpartum. Thank you.
Postpartum.
That's
Okay.
what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You want to make sure she doesn't go into postpartum, but put it back into context. If this parent made the decision, listen, you don't think they had to sit and explain to that little girl what this doctor was going to do to her? They had to explain that to her, honey. This doctor's going to do X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Now, at some point, you can say, Mommy, I don't want to do that. Okay? And if she did, you would hope that the parent would try to respect it, but you also got to understand what the parent's coming
She's
to.
only 10, like you said. She don't have a choice in the matter. So if they wanted her to get that abortion, then that's what it is.
That's it.
But
That's
that's where that gray line is at, too.
Right.
That's the gray
Guardian.
line. That's the gray line, right?
Right.
Because what if the 10-year-old would have said, no, Mom, or Dad, or guardian,
Yeah.
I want to have this child. I don't want to do
I would like to
Then what
believe
do you
that
do?
they would
Then what do you
they would talk about it.
What do you do?
I'd like to believe that they would
Yeah.
talk about it.
Like it's
Yeah.
this is why I say it's such a gray line. The problem that I have is, and I will continue to say this, I know where I stand on it. What I don't like is someone telling me what to do with my body.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's all it boils down
Absolutely right.
to. Okay? And the fact that this person at 10 years old was still a baby. My goodness, still a baby. That person shouldn't see the light of day again. And so here's my thing. If you want to go out there and rape, and since you want to say they have to have the child, well, then we need to stop cutting off penises.
Saying though, I think
No, I'm not playing.
this should be a special jail
I'm
for
not
rapists.
playing.
I feel
Okay?
this should be a special
You
jail.
don't need the organ if you're not going to use it appropriately.
Mhm.
All right? Because your organ don't belong in a 10-year-old.
Chop it off and put it up for sale.
You don't need it. Now, Lorena Bobbitt comes to
I'm
mind.
trying to tell you.
Lorena Bobbitt
Chop
comes to
that,
mind.
chop that joint off.
You
and
don't
put it on
need
the
it.
option block.
Because at the end of the day, how dare you do this to this child and take her
For
innocence?
innocence.
How dare you?
But rapists don't think that way.
Just why you don't need your penis no more. All you need is a bag to pee in. Chop it off. Your urethra is
Chop it
still
off.
connected to the bag. You don't need it. So my thing is, if you want to pass a law that everybody got to give birth, because here's the other thing that I find.
Did you
is
just say
hysterical.
chop it off?
Yeah, chop it off. Here's what I find hysterical. The same people, no, pro-life. Okay, you're right, yes, pro-life. When those kids are in foster care, you opening your doors, Heifer? Are you going to feed that child? Okay, you so quick to say pro-life. Where do they go after they're born? To foster care for someone to beat them and abuse them and rape them?
No, but they say that that's not their
That's
business.
That's not your business. It ain't your business now. So you're all pro-life,
Yeah,
but you don't care what happens to the child after.
Yeah, they say
How
that
dare
their
you.
conscience, they are the conscious gods, and they're there for God to help you not do a bad thing. But once you have that baby, that's it.
God don't need your help. God has set rules and laws, and He has also given us free will. And in that free will, we have the right to make choices. Now, when you make that choice, just understand that there are consequences to your choices. And that's between you and whoever you call your creator. It is not my place
And
to tell you what to do with your
What's your
body.
body?
How dare I?
I agree. As a man, I agree
Dare I?
that I don't believe in abortions. I would not have one for my family. I wouldn't suggest one for my sister, my daughter, my mother. But I believe that every woman has the right
Has a
to
choice.
choose,
Has a choice.
to choose whether you want to do that or not. And then at the end of the day, it's between you, your doctor, and God. Between you, your doctor, and God.
You know, we have to really look at this to say, unfortunately, Roe versus Wade, you're not thinking about the long-term effects of it. I get you. This is not what God wanted.
Mhm.
Yeah, but God didn't want a lot of
A
things.
lot of things.
But we yet still do it.
Mhm.
Okay? See, you can't pick and choose the rules you want to follow. And that's the problem. That's the hypocrisy that we spoke about.
And what did you just say? Can you repeat that God didn't want a lot of things?
God didn't want a lot of things, but yet
Slavery.
we still did it. And yet we still did it.
Mhm.
And yet we still do it. We still do it. The point I'm saying is that is between you and your creator. And again, he gave us free will to make our choices. That doesn't mean that the standards that we feel are right is right. You understand what I'm saying? That's the problem. We set these standards to make it seem like, well, this is right because this is what I want to do. That don't make it right, baby. That don't make it right. It may feel good to you, but like anything that feels good, there is a consequence. So you had 5 minutes of fun, but you lose your penis forever.
Well,
Speaking from experience, I had an abortion or two. I wasn't ready at first. Still in school. The second, I had 2 kids already. I just determined that it wasn't. We couldn't afford another kid.
right.
We couldn't afford it. And for a guy that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and I was unclear on that, I did not want to bring another child in the world and having to deal with that. But that was my choice,
Keyword right there.
my decision. Do I regret it? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I have to live with that.
Correct.
I have to live
Correct.
with that.
That's what I was just about to say.
I have to live with that. Would I do it again? No.
But you're older
But I'm
now.
older now. I don't plan on
You
having it
know,
anymore. I've been,
The
I'm out in the
circumstances,
world a little bit.
yes.
I've seen a little more, but at the time,
The circumstances have changed. But who am I to sit here and
Yeah.
tell you that you were supposed to have
Right.
that child?
right, the state, no less.
Exactly.
The
A
state,
governed
the state,
body. A
right.
governed body.
The same people that we elect,
Right.
the same people that we elect. That's
Mhm.
why politics is so much BS is not even funny. Man trying to rule man. Man telling you what you can and can't do. That's the hypocrisy of it.
I mean,
we going backwards.
Right.
We going backwards.
I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but it doesn't it flow on the same kind of subject where, okay, the gun stings. There's a lot of people that believe that there are too many guns out there. Guns do not save lives. We should get rid of guns or decrease the amount of guns. Those same people that rally for no guns are the same ones that are saying no, you can't do what you want with your body. So how do you have the right to say someone else can't do what they want to do with their body, but at the same time
You can take a life.
you can take a life?
You can take a life.
We're the only country that has suffered from mass destruction, from civilian firing because of guns.
Yeah. And guns
The
don't
only
kill
country.
people. People kill people.
The only country in this world
Mhm.
that has lost so many because of guns. Listen, nobody says you can't have a firearm and that you can't protect yourself. There is no reason why, what is that, AKA,
AK-47.
or those semi-automatic
AR-15s.
need to be in our children's hands. There's no reason. There's just no reason for it. Okay? And that's the problem. You're infringing on my rights. No, we're not. We're not saying you ain't got the right to bear arms. Because I tell you this, you come on my property, I have the right to bear arms. If you were there to do me harm, I have the right to bear arms. And I will lay you where you stand.
But why does there have to be over 300 million guns on the
But
street
what are you doing?
just to prove the Constitution?
There's a difference between common sense law
Right.
and stupid law.
Yeah.
There are some laws that are stupid. And there are some laws that honestly need to be changed, that were created years ago that does not apply to now.
Absolutely.
And that's what this buffoonery of a government should be focusing on.
You should not be on the Supreme Court for a life
No.
time.
Amen.
Oh,
Amen.
okay.
Amen.
Lifetime.
That is something that I feel is a change that we need in this new time, in this new generation.
Senate,
Yeah.
even in the Senate. Some of those people, I can't even think their names. I just look at their ugly faces. But some of those, Paul McCarthy, and listen, even Pelosi. Okay, it's not. You got to learn-
There's got to be term
there are
limits.
term
There's got to be
There is
term
no reason
limits.
why some of you people are in there that
That
long. Okay, there's no reason because you ain't doing no good.
No.
I don't think the founding fathers imagined that the point of views would
No.
become so extreme.
No, that's even hard. No.
It's sad and it's unfortunate, and the only people that are going to suffer is the next generation. Um, our Heavenly Father only knows where we're going to end up. You know, He has a plan, and you know what? That's all we're going to stand on right now.
And we just hope while life is in the hands of fellow man, that we always try to remain optimistic and hope that the next day life will be better. Who's to say?
But I think the other part is sometimes you really have to stay neutral with some of this. You have to. You have to stay a little bit neutral on this because you know wrong from right. No matter how you turn it, no matter how you flip it, the facts are the facts. And you know wrong from right. Listen, you know, you have, not to go left, but I'm going to go there. You have the 10th commandment says, thou shalt not kill. You don't need to read that in the book to know you shouldn't kill. You don't need to read that. You don't need to read that. You know, there's something in you, like for the conscience, that inner being, that inner spirit that we was created with. You know it's wrong.
We were created with
You was created with
but
that.
some people lack that.
Yeah.
You
So
know
what happened
it's
over
Yeah.
wrong.
kids?
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't need, I mean, it's good that the Bible tells you that, but you don't need the Bible to tell you that. You know it's wrong. Goes back to free will and choices. You choose to kill someone.
Absolutely.
You choose
Absolutely.
to pick up a gun. Just like you choose to have an abortion. Just like you choose to rape. Just understand that there are consequences. You want to pass some laws? Why don't you pass some laws that will make a change? Like cutting off a penis if you rape a 10-year-old. I bet you ain't gonna be running around so quick. And listen, I give credit to those countries that do that. I'm sorry.
I mean,
I give credit to those countries that, and I'm talking about that type of heinous crime.
but you can chop it off and give it to somebody else who's in need of it. It don't always have to. It don't have to go to waste.
No, baby.
It don't have to go to
Listen,
waste.
you gotta attach those veins and those muscles.
Yeah, but if
It
somebody,
may not be the same.
if they need it though, they
It may not work the
It may
same.
not work the same. But here's my point. You have this tool, this body appendage that you're not using it for what it was created for. So since you don't want to use it for what it's created for, why don't we remove it from you? Why not pass that law? Why not pass that law? You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, this child will forever be scorned, will forever be honestly, and probably in a dark place. And this doctor who thought she was doing the right thing will maybe have to suffer from some of this too. You know, listen, doctors are not God. They go to school to keep you alive. But sometimes they don't know the answers either. And sometimes they make mistakes. And at the same time, they also know how to preserve life, help you. And that's what we need from each other, right? We need help. And we need help. And that doctor thinks she felt she did the right thing. And if the parent, and that goes back to the parent, if the parent of that child signed off on it, and they explained to the child, because you have to, like any patient, you explain to them what's about to be done to you, just like when you got to get truthful. You're going to get anesthesia, you're going to get a local, this is what's about to happen. It was explained to that child.
in layman's terms, though, how detailed can you get in explaining somebody like to a 10-year-old? Is she able to even retain it?
Possibly not.
You know what I mean?
Possibly not. Possibly not.
That's just a sad situation.
Very, very,
It's a sad
very,
situation.
very sad. Very sad situation. Well, we want to hear your thoughts and your comments on relative to this subject. What do you think? Do you think that this young child should have had an abortion? You think she should have went through term? You think the parents were right or wrong? Do you think the doctor was right or wrong? What is it that you think? Leave us your comments over at the Esteban Hour at yahoo.com or any one of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and Twitter, all the rest, all that good stuff. All right, let's move on to our next topic.
Thank you, Saray. Thank you for that heartfelt personal experience that you shared with us.
admitting to having an abortion and your reasons for doing it. She has three beautiful children today, and her conscience is within herself for her own decision. But ultimately, she's proud of being able to make her own decision. And we shouldn't be God's judge and jury. God doesn't need us. We're just mere flesh and dust. He's powerful enough to take care of that himself. And also, God is forgiving. He's a forgiving God. The far right that claim Christianity, they don't say that. They don't mention he's a forgiving God. No one can steal and be forgiven, lie and be forgiven, rape and be forgiven, murder and be forgiven. But abortions, no forgiveness there. God's put me here to stop that. Where's the reasonableness in that? And we spoke about term limits. Our founding fathers placed no term limits in the Supreme Court because they thought that the way that they wrote the Constitution and amendments, things will remain fair. But this is a new day. This is a new generation. You can't have limitless terms, and Congress can't stay in office forever. Just reroute it back or revote back in every 2 years. Okay, but the Senate run every 6 years and just come back and run again. It's crap. Congress needs to have discussions on this now. Whether they do it or not, because it affects them directly, I don't know. It remains to be seen. But fresh blood that flows within each generation is more practical today, don't you think? Along with some folks of wisdom. I mean, you can't have everyone wet behind the ears. And we're going to end up having a disco club in the chamber with a bottle of Hennessy on the podium right next to the gavel. I mean, think about it. We grow when we're growing, we listen to our parents, right? We listen to what adults say and do. They're wiser. But when we become adults ourselves, we grow a self spirit. We grow our own way of life, our own opinion, taking advice from ourselves or someone like an employer or a teacher or police officer. Don't you think as we grow up, as we get older, we need different people to lead us, strengthen us, mold us, enlighten us? Not the same people that led our grandmother 40 years ago. I mean, and for those sound bites that might generate comparing today's political office in the White House, please, it's different now. We were given two choices, and over 80 million Americans chose 4 years of experience, truth, empathy, over another 4 years of lies, drama, disrespect, vindication, deceit. I mean, look at the drama now that we're still in. But that same person who wanted another 4 years of lies, drama, disrespect, deceit, vindication, now he's been saying for the last 2 years, over 80 million Americans did not vote for his opponent. I'm happy of the fact that dignity and mutual respect was restored to the White House. Our allies now smile when they discuss America. When I go overseas, I'm not bombarded by folks who can't stand us because of our president, who was just rude to their president. It's happiness. I'll tell you, I don't see the left so much trying to take rights away from the right as much as I see the right trying to take rights away from everybody. Because even a great number of Republicans and independents want the right to an abortion to stay, want the right to choose to stay. Call your congressman or your senators. Vote your conscience. Don't do don't do nothing is not an option. Don't just sit home and do nothing. Lend your voice, your opinions. Stand up for your rights to make your own decision. The rights to drink when you want to, the rights to pee when you want to, the rights to own a gun if you want to, and service your body as you want to. Stay out of family businesses' lives. How many times have you heard the slogan, mind your own business? Mind your own damn business. Maybe America would be less stressful and create less drama, which would lead to less problems as a whole, because it all affects us. If we could just concentrate on ourselves, leave everybody else alone. That concludes today's topic. That is it at the Caliente countertop. You can bring more of your comments and topics of discussion, more laughter, more seriousness, and more opening of the lives of folks and their experiences and their opinions. Always to the Caliente countertop. I mean, there's so much dreadfulness going on in this world today. It's incredible. If you have a comment or a question, you can leave it at the Esteban Hour on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter. I can't wait to read all of your comments. And we're going live pretty soon. I assure you, we're going live. If you've achieved a goal today or an accomplishment, always remember to say to yourself, this is how you do it.